Oh, sorry, we're back. We're back.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
It's 2.5 Opinions. I'm Frank.
I'm Yishai.
I'm not ready.
You're muted.
I'm not ready.
You're still muted.
I pushed the button like 5 times here. Let's see. Push it on, then off, then on, then off, then on, then off. Okay, so it's the great race. Push the button, Max.
Yeah. And I remember that movie. That was great. You know, Tony Curtis. And that was Jack Lemmon, I think, was the bad guy.
Jack Lemmon was, and
Peter Falk was his
Peter Falk was Max, and and nobody in our audience will remember the movie, and it's a great movie.
Oh, funny as heck.
But, and what's her name? Natalie Wood was in it as well.
Yes, she was. She was the one going with, or accompanying, I should say, as a reporter, Tony Curtis, who was the racer.
Right. She was the quintessential
She was the quintessential feminist of that day.
Yes, yes. She was a very lovely woman, too. But
she can read, speak, and write these, like 5 or 6 different languages?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, she was the original Ivanka Trump.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I went there. So, to the point, this is 2.5 Opinions, where we all have opinions and none of them matter because all we're looking for is what God's opinion is. And
the points don't matter either.
And the points don't matter. Yeah. So
then how am I going to win the game?
On that, but guess what? They didn't matter.
Yeah, how am I going to win the game if points don't matter? What is this, a participation trophy? Come on now.
Yeah, how do I win? How can I win this argument if my points don't matter?
Well, 2.5 opinions anyway.
True.
And so,
whose opinion is it anyway?
We have a chat room.
Yes, we actually do. For those who are listening in, join us on the Lamb Chat, messianiclambradio.com/Lamb Chat. You will be able to log in and have a bunch of fun with us there. Just make sure you click on the 2.5 Opinions room so you know where you're going.
Well, that's better than we are because we don't know where we're going.
Please don't threaten us on that one. We need to know where we're going. Also, for those who want to actually call in instead of spend time typing on the keyboards,
oh my gosh! Actually someone's going to call in and add more rabbits to our trails.
That would be entertaining, to say the least. We have a call-in number.
Get a rabbi trail instead of a rabbit trail.
We actually have a call-in number, and keep in mind this is a Skype-based call-in number. The phone number for it is 1-282. Sorry, reword that. 1-828-919-9100. Again, 1-828-919-9100. And if you have any questions that, let's just say for a fact you wound up hearing the show after the show is over with, since we actually have a website that does that, you can also email us questions at 2.5opinions@gmail.com. And that is the number 2, a point, and the number 5. So there's no confusion there, and no capitalize. But and last but simply not least, for more advertisements, we also have a website as well, which is 2.5opinions.com.
All spelled out, lowercase.
All spelled out, lowercase. It's in, not and.
Yeah, it's N as in Nancy. using phonetics.
Yes. Yes.
So what are we gonna do tonight, Brain?
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try our best to not screw up.
Hey, there you go. That's a novel idea. That's a okay. So okay, we have this portion which appears to be a bunch of instructions about how to build the Mishkan, and the Most High says you will take, meaning they already had the materials. Where do they get the materials? That's a good question. And you will do this, and you will, the ark is a cubit and a half by 2 cubits by a cubit and a half, and you'll make it out of, this, and acacia wood or cedar wood, depending upon what, where you're reading it from, and you'll overlay it with gold, and you'll do this and you'll do that, and then, and you'll make these curtains, and you'll do embroidery, do all of that stuff. But what does it mean? What does it mean? So, is that essentially what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be a fun portion because for those who are reading it face value, or for those who are reading it just based on the understanding of taking Torah and nothing else, this is basically nothing more than a blueprint. You read the blueprint and interpret how you want. But God said you can't really do that. If I remember correctly, it was more along the lines of you read the blueprint and design it how you saw it, if I remember the statement correctly.
Okay, saw it where?
Well, let's see. I think the only one who actually saw it was Moses.
Okay, where?
Let's get to what are we going to read?
What are we going to read tonight, Brain?
This is a very long preamble to whatever we're going to get to tonight, because this one's going to be a tough one. It always seems to be a tough one. Every year it seems to be a tough one because all we have here from a very base level, the Peshat level, is this is just a bunch of instructions on how to make. No, this is a bunch of instructions on what you're going to make.
Right.
Pay attention to what I said there. This is not how to make it. This is what you're going to make. The measurements, the fabric, the consistency, the materials that go into it. The strangest thing out of all of this is if you were to try on your own to replicate this, you take 12 master craftsmen, you'll have 12 completely different things because the details are not here. You cannot replicate the Mishkan from the instructions that are given for us. And that's a tough one. Because as we go along, God constantly tells Moshe, build it as you saw it on Sinai. Build it as you saw it on the mountain.
Uh-huh.
But we don't know what Moses saw. And when he was up there, there's no description that he saw anything. So this is
write it down. So
yeah, but sometimes we focus so much on the base level of things, especially when we're reading Torah, that we forget that there's an added dimension, there's an added aspect to it, and that is the spiritual aspect, that is God's point of view. And sometimes we fail to recognize where is God's point of view as we read the Torah. So with that, what are we reading tonight?
Well, I think we are going to crack open with the standard issue here and jump straight into the first Aliyah. Just read that, which for those following along, that is Exodus chapter 25, verse 1 through 16.
Okay, when you said standard issue, I thought you were going to say standard issue 45. We're going to the range.
No. Keep the firearms at bay.
Yeah,
We're
standard issue. That's a rock. 35 pounds.
Right.
Get your Kevlar. Get your flak vest. Go ahead.
Well, at least you can walk in
Actually,
this
it's not
combat.
flak vest anymore. We call it an IBAS, and it's a complete system, and it's crazy, and it's heavy, and it's no longer 35 pounds. Once you're fully loaded with your standard issue, it's about 100 pounds that you got that you're carrying around, running and highly motivated on a battlefield. But this
Right,
is
because you don't want to get shot.
yeah, but this is a different battlefield, so let's read it and get into
So
it.
our standard issue
This
is
is
Torah, Talmud,
Right.
the
This is the
thousands of other
battlefield of the
books.
mind.
Doctor
Okay.
Strange?
Yeah.
And-
Well. Yeah.
and 1.5 opinions. So what are we reading?
Hey! Don't leave me out here.
So let's roll. Let's roll.
Okay. So I'll read the blessing, and you'll read the. Come on, computer. Wake up, computer. I feel like Scotty for a second here. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakaranu mikol ha'amim v'tan lanu et Torato Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'Torah. Melech
Amen.
Exodus chapter 25, verse 1 through 16, using the Chabad.org's translation. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and have them take for me an offering. From every person whose heart inspires him to generosity, you shall take my offering. And this is the offering that you shall take from them: gold, silver, and copper, blue and purple and crimson wool, linen and goat hair, ram skins dyed red, takash skins, and acacia wood, oil for lighting, spices for the anointing oil and for the incense, shosham stones and filling stones for the ephod and for the choshen. And they shall make me a sanctuary, and I will dwell in their midst. According to all that I show you, the pattern of the Mishkan and the pattern of all its vessels, and so shall you do. They shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits its length, 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And you shall overlay it with pure gold. From inside and from outside you shall overlay it. And you shall make upon it a golden crown all around. And you shall cast 4 golden rings for it. And you shall place them upon its 4 corners, 2 rings on its one side and 2 rings on its other side. And you shall bring the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry the ark with them. The poles of the ark shall be in the rings, they shall not be removed from it. And you shall place into the ark of the testimony which I will give you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah imet v'kayei olam nota b'tukenu Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'Torah. Melech Naaman. And for those of you who don't know, I feel it is necessary every time we read Torah in a serious note to do the opening and the closing blessings. So that's why I do that. Anyway, so where are we going to go from here?
I want to make a point here, in that is as we go back up a little bit, Exodus 25, verse 8, it says, God is telling Moshe, you're going to take up an offering. Tell the children of Israel to lift up, bring something that brings up, the teruma. And that's what teruma is a lifting up. And it's appropriately translated or referred to as an offering. But in verse 8 it says, and they shall make me a sanctuary, and I will dwell in their midst. And it's really, I will dwell within them. Not within the sanctuary, within them. The inference is, I'll be in the sanctuary, and if you want to see me, come on in. But the verbiage is, I will dwell within them. This is one of those things that is always perplexed and been fascinated to the rabbis. Now, of course, Christians on the other side will come up and say, oh, but I have the Holy Spirit. God dwells within me. I am a temple to God. So my body is a living temple. I mean, after all, Paul says that over and over in the New Testament. Christians and Messianics agree with it and support it to an extent. If you really believe your body is the temple of the living God, how are you living? How are you treating your own body? How are you treating your own self? Are you treating yourself with respect? Are you honoring your body as you would honor a physical structure such as the Mishkan? Now a little bit forward, verse 9. You're going to build this according to all that I show you. And this is another troubling aspect in Hebrew. This Torah portion is one of those that it's difficult for us to understand past tense, present tense, or future tense. Did he already show it to him? Is he showing it to him now? Has he continually showing it to him as they build this? As we go through this Torah portion, as I showed you on the mountain, but wait a minute, Moshe, aren't you on the mountain at the time that these instructions are being given and they're being recorded for us? Or you came down out of the mountain and now you're writing it down, so it's past tense. But even in the Hebrew, and Hebrew scholars struggle trying to figure out what is the tense of this. I remember years ago, an individual was trying to correct my wife, who she is very, very gifted in understanding and studying Hebrew, just as Jesse is. And this individual was trying to correct my wife and said, "Oh, but there are no tense verbs in Hebrew. In other words, there's no past tense, future tense, or present tense." And it's like, no, you obviously don't understand Hebrew, because though it's based on context, yes, there are predicates that do let us know whether it's past tense or future tense. Otherwise, it's always present tense. That's the problem with our Torah portion now, is this is present tense. So okay. This is according that I am showing you. You're building this. So there's this, and I know, I get it. Half the audience is out there. Okay, so what's the point? The point
we're building
is,
a tent.
The point is, this always has been, and always will be, us building a Mishkan for the presence of the living King, the King of the universe. So, it didn't happen in the past, and it's not. We're not waiting for something in the future. This is constant and always continually ongoing. So if we're looking at the ingredients of this, the ingredients, were they lamb skins, porpoise skins? Was it gold, silver? Was it acacia wood, shittim, or cedar wood? The point is, this is ongoing. How are you building your tabernacle? Are you treating it with the honor and the respect of the living God? That's my preamble. Frank and Jesse, ready? Go.
Well, it fits, because when you said it's all about tents, we're building a tent. I mean a tent. Sorry. Anyway, I went a long way for that joke. I'm sorry. No, there are many things in here that are like, okay, where'd they get the material? And well, they looted Egypt. They walked out with all these riches. Yeah, what about the wood? As we were discussing earlier, there's a Home Depot down the road, or a Lumber 84. Why didn't they just go buy the wood, right? No, that's not what it means. They had the wood available for them to take the offering. They didn't have to go buy it or acquire it. They had the wood. And I submit what Rashi submits is, where did they get the wood? They were in the desert. Where'd they get the wood? But that's my point, my question. So, Jesse, you referred to this as a blueprint. Okay? But it's not a typical blueprint. Okay, I work with all that stuff, and blueprints, or we call them digitized drawings now, have all of the if anybody's ever taken drafting in high school, which I think, Chris, you and I were probably the last generation to take that in high school, shop class and everything else, right?
Oh yeah, drafting, but
Right.
even after that, did some estimating, and I worked in construction for years.
Right.
Yeah, so is this a blueprint? Well, blueprints aren't written out in words. It's an actual drawing, so it's difficult to say that this is a true blueprint, because honestly, I can work better with a blueprint, a drawing, a picture,
Right.
down to the details that I need. We build buildings this way, bridges, streets,
Right.
etc., based off of blueprints and drawings. But we don't have a picture. We really don't have a blueprint. This is a very generalized. Even though we get specific with certain things, overall it's generalized. And I challenge anybody out there. Draw me a picture based on the words that you're reading here. How do you assemble these things? These are the nuances of it that as I love working with wood. I work with wood and I've worked with metal. I've built several different things, whether it be cabinets or inlays or
A chess game.
a room upstairs, the chess set or nightstands. I've made a lot of things out of wood, and I have an idea in my mind, and sometimes I've got to draw it out, because even in my mind I've got to be careful, and I've got to make sure the measurements are correct. What we have here, we have measurements, but even the measurements are incomplete.
Right.
Even if I knew what a cubit was, let's just pretend for a moment. We all understand a cubit is 2.8 feet long, or 2 feet and 7 inches long. Let's just
or 18 inches or whatever.
Yeah, let's just pretend for a moment. We all understand a cubit is a standard unit of measurement, and we all know what this is. I can cut the pieces to that length, but how do I assemble it?
Right.
How do I make all of these things fit? The worst of the worst, I mean, the absolute one that blows my mind. Okay, take a block of gold and hammer it into a 7-branch menorah with cups and filigree,
Right.
that I can fill pure olive oil into it and set it on fire. Nobody said anything about a wick in here.
Right.
Nobody said anything. I mean, there's so much missing in this when it comes down to the detail. And truly, this is one of those crazy things where you got to say, yeah, the devil is in the detail. It is, if I try to assemble this, if I try to make this, then I am becoming a devil, because I'm messing it up.
The humor about that is it brings me straight back to the mindset that I tried to put forth whenever it came to our previous portion on the topic I brought about, how the main issue why in Talmud and other such places they nitpick, as people put it, is for the safety of not causing not doing something wrong. For example, whenever I made the mention of the meat and dairy, they keep the separation for multiple reasons, but one of the primary reasons is so that the blessing of one of those two items of food, particularly in this case, you eat meat before you have some milk, you do the blessing for the milk, and the blessing is not rendered vain.
Right.
Okay, so what you're getting to is that there's no vanity in here, whether it be these instructions or other instructions for life. And you bring up an example of meat and dairy, which most of our audience don't separate meat and dairy. That's fine. It's up to you. I mean, truly, it really is. Unless you're truly Jewish, and I'm going to get a lot of hate mail and a lot of people that disagree with me on this. But unless you're Jewish, unless you're descendant of someone here at Sinai, all of this is good for you, but it is not specific to you. In other words, those that were raised in a Jewish upbringing, with the importance of this, with hundreds and thousands of years of accusations and persecutions and separation. And the Jewish tradition is one thing. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't Paul say, I praise you all for keeping the traditions that were taught to you? Yeah, that was in Romans, and it was also in Ephesians and in Colossians. Paul talks about traditions, but I digress.
No, not again.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But, it's these things of the Jewish mindset is something that truly is different from the rest of the world.
Well,
And
what
when
you
I say
said earlier.
when I say the rest of the world, I mean the atheist, the scientist, the Church of Scientology, the Christian, the Messianic, the Muslim, the Buddhist. The mindset of the Jew is a little bit different, because the mindset of the Jew is, how do I not just please God, how do I live with God? And there's no placating, there's no simple hand wave approach of, well, God just changed his mind and he did away with certain things. There's no, well, God did this, and so therefore we don't have to agree with God's words anymore. No. The Jewish mindset is, these words always were, they are now, and they always will be. So these instructions that we're given in this Torah portion, they always existed. This is important. Frank,
Yeah.
why is that important? We discussed this a little bit earlier.
Right. It was what you said earlier.
Yeah, did these instructions for the Mishkan come about before the sin of the golden calf or after the sin of the golden calf?
Well, that's a good question. He's up on the mountain 40 days, 40 nights, receiving the Torah, receiving the Ten Commandments, receiving instruction. This is your typical, is it chronological or topical thing for Torah? This is a topical, because he's actually doing all of this, reading and learning. Well, maybe not reading, but he's learning, and he's committing it to memory. Then he will come down, I believe it's next week or the week after, and then we will have the sin of the golden calf, and then we'll have the building of the Mishkan. Mishkan is built after the sin of the golden calf, not before he comes down from the mountain. But it all stems from what you said earlier. If you're a Christian, if you're living and you want to please God, and you say, well, I have the Holy Spirit within me, how are you treating that temple? Are you filling it with stuff that's not food? In other words, pork and other things that are specifically commanded that God said are not food. Okay, how are you treating that?
Yeah, and that's kind of the approach. Now let's going back to the specifics. Within this Torah portion, we've got some crazy stuff. It's whether you're reading from the JPS, whether you're reading from Chabad.org, whether you're reading from your New American Standard or your King James Version, you might have subtle differences here. But there's a couple of things within this that are odd. Even Rashi has a difficult time in explaining skins on the Mishkan.
Right.
Are these actual skins of a dead animal that God is commanding us to put on his dwelling place? He wants the symbol of death over his house?
I was about to say along those paths, because why would someone spend time in the desert to grab something that even remotely looks like porpoise skin from an animal? And then,
that's a but if you notice, and what Jesse's talking about is get to the verse there, Jesse. But look it up. While you're looking it up, is there's the reference to goat hair actually, and then rams, and most translations are going to say ram
left, red,
and then there's going to be this strange word that in English, most English Bibles, it's going to translate it as porpoise skins. Now, wait a minute. For one, a porpoise is a mammal, and it's an unclean animal as far as it does not have fish. I mean, it doesn't have skins.
scales.
doesn't have
Fins and
scales
scales.
and fins on fish and scales.
Okay.
Yeah, if it doesn't have fins and scales, but yet it's a sea-dwelling animal, and Christian theologians have tried to come up with different ways of dealing with this, but the problem is they're dealing with a Hebrew word, an ancient Hebrew word, and nowhere in our Torah portion this week is the word for a skin or a hide. The Hebrew word for skin or hide is used. And so when you delve into this into Talmud, even though Rashi will call it a ram skin, when you delve into Talmud in the specifics of what is really being used here, even Talmud will tell you that this is hair that is dyed to certain colors. We're dealing with colors, not the specifics of an animal's skin. And so therefore, the ancients have devised that this is the hair of things that have been dyed to specific colors, because we're the instructions at this point in time are, what is it supposed to look like, not what is it made of at this point in time. When we get to the gold, the silver, the bronze, or the copper, etc., that's a little bit different. But here with these supposed skins, the Hebrew word for skin is not used.
So
Jesse, you're about to say something.
Well, sorry. So that I keep hesitating. I'm trying to pronounce it properly. It's
well, on Kabbalah they call it takash.
Okay,
which Takash is not skins in this case.
no, Takash is what's usually translated as porpoise skins, but Takash is a color.
Right. It's a multi-hued, almost multicolored depiction or understanding. If okay, this is my supposition, if it is an actual skin, which of course we're saying it isn't, but it would look more like a giraffe as far as coloration. Okay.
So it's kind of model. It's more of a modeling. It's a multi-patterned, yeah.
Right.
But
right.
even in Exodus 25:5, where it's telling us that you're going to take ram skins dyed red, and the takash, or which is the significance of what it looks like, not a skin. Then we're looking at multiple things here. It's the skin of the Mishkan. It's not the skin of an animal that we're talking about.
Right. It's
This
the
is
outside covering.
Yeah, this is the troubling aspect of it. Why is all this important?
You're right.
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. It's a great question. Why is this important? Because I, as the quintessential perfectionist, universalist, idealist, God, you are a God of life, not a God of death. Why would you command a tent from which you will communicate with mankind that is covered in death?
That's a good way to put it.
That was my question as I approach this. And as I dig into it, whether it be from the Zohar, from the Tanya, from the Talmud, from the older Hebraic approaches of trying to describe and depict not just how this was made and what it was made of, but the purpose of it, they constantly go back to the point is God is dwelling within us. This is a means for us, not for God, for us to identify with. Now we have a completely different question. Why this means. Even though we can go through the nuances of all the subtleties and all the instructions, and yes, they're very important, and they point to a lot of things. Why this mean?
Ooh, I know.
Go.
It's what you said earlier. The Mishkan, the tent of meeting, okay, it is a portable Mount Sinai. So that as they go through the wilderness and as they go into the land, this portable Mount Sinai is with them. It's I hate to say it this way, it's not exactly a touchstone. It's a symbol of connection. Come and talk to me between the two cherubim. That's, he's not talking to God. God doesn't come down from heaven or, wherever he is at and stare and go, so Moses, how was your day? It's not like that. It's a point in space and time for Moses to hear from God and then relay it to the children. But it's not everybody that can come in. It's only certain people, most notably Aaron, but also Moses, and speak with God, hear, and then deliver the information to the children of Israel. So it's a mobile, as you said, Mount Sinai. Okay, I've got bars. Does anybody else got more reception?
No, I'm sorry. Jesse and I were in a sidebar conversation.
We were only sidebar
discussing Ayin, Vav, Resh, and where does Ayin, Vav, Resh come from? All right, for most of our audience, they probably have no clue as to what we're talking about with Ayin, Vav, Resh. Ayin, Vav, Resh is or. And we have or that pops up several places. If you're reading in Strong's Concordance, which is not a dictionary, don't use it as a dictionary, then Strong's Concordance is going to tell you this is the skin of an animal or a hide of an animal.
Sidebar, this comes from the person who used to love Strong's Concordance.
I did until I picked up an actual dictionary and a lexicon, and I realized, oh, wait a minute, I was misusing Strong's.
Right.
It's not that Strong's was purposely misleading us. No, I was not using Strong's appropriately, and most Messianics and Christians do not use Strong's appropriately, and that's kind of my point and my tongue-in-cheek jab at those that want to use Strong's like it's a dictionary. It's not. It was never intended to be.
That's your personal dig.
Yeah. So, anyways, Jesse and I had a sidebar conversation on the word orot. It goes into a different aspect. The point of it is it's all contextually based. What is the context that we're dealing here? We're dealing with the skin of the Mishkan, not the skin of an animal. The skin or comes from the same the same root word for light.
Root word would be a better way to word it, because the difference between light and skin is light has olive, skin has ayin. Which that is the difference.
Is the difference there, and I'm sorry, we're going into the etymology of the word as well as the cognate and where this word comes from, because I turned to Jesse, Frank, while you were talking, and this is what started our sidebar conversation.
Which we apologize for that, Frank.
Yeah.
That's okay. Only you can turn to Jesse. We're separated physically.
True, which is why you should start coming over again.
Well, I told him it wasn't a good day, and because we had so many crazy stuff going on in the house, and we weren't set up for entertaining, which is horrible. On Shabbat, you're supposed to open up your house, and I had to email Frank and say, Frank, it's not a good day. Don't do it.
It's all right. It's all right. I will drink the couple bottles of Cabernet that I have and eat the cheese that I was going to bring over. And I was going to make tapenade before you called.
Oh, no. No, what's worse is that my sons and my wife, for the what did I post on Facebook? The 15th anniversary of my 39th birthday, which just happened a couple days ago, bought me a couple of bottles of 18-year-old scotch. And that's really why Frank wanted to come over today.
Okay.
Darn it,
And I'm,
I've been found
and
out.
I'm saving it. I saved it for you, Frank, because I want you to taste this. I want you to enjoy this with me. But yeah, it was just it was a crazy day.
Well,
So getting
as
back to the Torah portion,
Right.
or this ayin vav resh. The first time we see the root of this word is God made or
Right.
for Adam.
Yep.
And the or with the same word or starting with an aleph, or with an aleph is light, or with an ayin means a covering of some type. And so the covering of whatever type this is, as we continue on forth with Hebrew and Aramaic, or with the ayin, can be the hide of the animal. But that's not the purpose, and that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the death of the animal so that we can have its hide. We're talking about the covering of the animal, or the covering of the human, or the covering of a thing. It has become equated with and associated with the hide, the tanned hide of a thing. But we're talking about a mishkan.
So
And
you're,
so
you're,
the rabbis and the Tanya and the Zohar asked the question, as I just asked, O Supreme Being, the first cause of all things, the King of the universe, the essence of all life, why would you have us build something that is made of the death of anything? How is this
okay.
possible that you're going to dwell within the death of an animal?
especially since the only time the death of an animal is involved in anything referencing the Mishkan is to make up for human faults.
Yeah, well, there's also Thanksgiving and praise offerings. So could you say, Chris, that the or of a ram dyed red, or the or of a takash? So it would be the light of the hair, or the luminescence of the hair?
Yeah, and that's why they come back and say, okay, this is actually the goat hair. This is actually the ram's hair. This is actually goat or ram that is colored in these ways. It is not the skin of the animal, it is the hair of the animal that is dyed and that is woven to make a covering for the Mishkan. We see
Okay.
this because as we go through all of this, and this is the fun thing about the Hebrew language, it's all based on context. We can delve into the etymology of a specific word and get some great insight, but that's not the answer to all things. Because after all, at one point in time, there was a famous cartoon that sang a song that said, "Let's have a gay old time."
Right.
I can't say let's have a gay old time today. 30 years ago, I could have said it and everybody would understand. 50 years ago, it would have even taken on a more specific meaning. And in the 1920s, to have a gay old time meant drinking.
Right. And besides, we can't have a gay old time because that cartoon, they all wore animal skins and ate on
Okay.
things like
Yeah, and he's talking about the
like brontosaurus burgers, you know.
Yeah, he's talking about the Flintstones there. So, and that's kind of my point is we have changed the meanings of words. The words themselves have not changed their meaning. So when we,
Activists
as
have changed the meaning of words, not us. Somebody has seen a word and said, you know what, that would be good for my cause. I'm going to change the meaning. I'm going to control the dialogue.
yeah, so as we try to delve back, I mean, we're talking about thousands of years, not just a couple of tens of years or even hundreds of years. We're talking about thousands of years. What was the intent and the meaning of the word? And Brad Scott puts it best.
Mhm.
When was it used first, and what was its first usage? From the first usage of the word, now let's go forward. He took this literally from my favorite rabbi, and that's Rabbi Samuel Raphael Hirsch. And I've got Hirsch's commentaries. I've got several books on Hirsch, and Hirsch had a book that Brad Scott used a lot, and that is the etymology of biblical Hebrew. Now, if you were to go out and pick up this rather thin book, he's just lists a bunch of words and gives the meanings, and he doesn't delve into the reasonings as to why these meanings exist as much as he does in his commentaries and other books. And of course, Rabbi Hirsch is a 14 or 15, I think it was 1600s, in the 1600s. But we're losing sight here.
Right, we're digressing off the path again. Jesse, get us back one line.
Yeah, it's the light of. Even though it's an ayin, we need to understand the light of. This is what I see. This is not what it necessarily is composed of. So
and that's interesting, because when you say light of, that's our modern day science tells us that dye or that pigment or that whatever is, we're seeing it because that's what it reflects. It cancels out all the other spectrum, and we see just that color. So that it's very close to saying that is the light of that color.
It's the light of that color. It's the hue of that color. It's what that,
right.
Like exactly what you said, Frank. It's absorbed everything else, and now it's reflecting this to you. Oh, wow! What a concept! I've absorbed everything else, and this is what I'm reflecting to the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we come back to, I will dwell within them. And the rabbis have a problem with this. Are you dwelling in the Mishkan, or are you dwelling in the people? And I will meet with you, Moshe, between the wings of the cherubim, above the keparot, the keparet, the covering. Most Christian Bibles will say this is the mercy seat. I don't have a problem with that.
I do.
Well, I don't have a problem with it as much as I have a problem with you missing the point. Not you, right, Frank, but
I don't know. I've missed quite a few points.
Yeah,
my score is not as high as your guys's.
No, you know what I mean. It's
yeah, I know. I'm kidding.
It's not so much that I have a problem with how you're saying it, or your issue with this, as much as where is God meeting us?
Right.
He's meeting us between the wings of the two cherubim. Now, wait a minute. Let's back up a second. God, didn't you command us? Don't you remember back in the whole 10 Commandments thing? You are not to create or make an image of anything in the heavens or in the earth or beneath the earth.
Right.
Whatever beneath the earth means, we never dwell on that one. But nonetheless, I am not to make an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth. And yet here, God commands us to make an image of cherubim? Moshe, help me out here, because I don't know what a cherubim looks like. Only you were on the mountain. What does a cherubim look like? Now let's jump forward 2,000 years. And we're going to come into the time of, well, we're coming up into that time. Purim.
Mm-hmm.
Purim is about this time. And the Greeks come in and they invade the temple itself. And the Greeks erect a statue of Zeus. And they sacrifice a pig on the altar. But when they went into the Kodesh Kodeshim, the most holy place, or the Holy of Holies, is what the Christian Bible will call it, but it's the Kodesh Kodeshim, the most holy place. And they look at the ark itself. They were perplexed, because they were looking for the God of Israel. And all they see is this ark. This is the God of Israel? Really? 2 kids on top of a box? That's their words. I'm transposing into modern English. In Greek, they made fun of the Jews because they had 2 children the image of two children with wings looking at each other. And they accused the Jews of being pedophiles because the faces of the cherubim were children. And I've got to say, whoa, whoa. Don't take the Greek's word for this. Let's go back to the first time two cherubim were used. It's back at the Garden of Eden. And the two cherubim there had flaming swords that twirled in every direction that guarded the entrance to the Garden of Eden. And even Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, dared not to approach. So these faces of children on the ark, innocent, full of mercy, full of forgiveness. In another place, they're extremely dangerous and full of justice without mercy. And we see the perfect harmony and the balance and the marriage, as Christianity wants to say, the marriage between the two of justice and mercy. And it is the image of the innocents facing towards each other, covering the most holy thing. And that is where we meet God. Not on the ark, not on the cherubim, but in the harmony and the unison of both of these meeting. Pure justice in the garden and pure mercy on the ark. So what is the purpose of the Mishkan? What is the purpose of Sinai? What is the purpose of the cherubim at the Garden of Eden? They're all intertwined. They're all interconnected. Jesse's got all kinds of things going on in his mind and his eye over here. What's up?
Jesse's mind is a whirling cascade of thoughts. Go ahead, Jesse.
Well, I didn't think I was that good, but no, I was jumping around because there was a puzzling question on Lamb Chat based on what you were saying there about the cherubim and how they look like children. The first one, and I'm reading it word for word, so if the writer will give a better description if we cannot understand, it was based on what you were saying about the cherubim, outstretched wings of cherubs likened to the chariot of Ezekiel's vision, the bearers of the divine throne.
Be careful there, because Ezekiel's vision of seraphim. Here we have cherubim. There is a difference. So be careful when you're bringing a correlation with these things. Cherubim have 4 wings. Seraphim have 6 wings, or 2 sets of 3. In Ezekiel's vision, he sees the seraphim, and this is a strange thing, because both in Torah and Tanakh we really don't delve into angelic things. We've got to go to extra biblical sources to get an understanding of what's the difference between the Melachim, the cherubim, and the seraphim. In other words, Melachim is messengers or angels. Cherubim are something maybe a little bit higher than, if we can say such a thing. And then the seraphim are those things, those 4 or 6 or 7 things that are closest to God. And this is as close as any created thing can be to God without being God. So right, the seraphim,
archangels.
Yeah, and we call them archangels. The seraphim in Ezekiel are the wheels within a wheel. They have eyes all over. They see every way. They move every direction. It's the wheel within a wheel, but it's the seraphim that are the closest. The seraphim in Ezekiel's vision have wings that cover their faces, wings that cover their bodies, and wings that cover their feet. But in our Torah portion, we have cherubim, which have wings that cover their faces and wings that cover their feet. So they have 4 wings. This isn't Raiders of the Lost Ark that you see 2 wings folded over the top.
Right.
No, that's just 2 wings, and you don't know what cherubim is. And that's a side note. But the purpose of the wings is what your question should be. Why do angels have 2 wings? Why do cherubim have 4 wings, and why do seraphim have 6 wings? Why the multiple layers of coverings? Because then we get into the covering of Adam, we get into the covering of the Mishkan, and how many layers of coverings do we have? Oh, we never asked that question, did we? Better yet, as we're dealing with the Mishkan, why is it when I approach the Mishkan, there is a screen from the outer court to the inner court, and on that screen is an embroidered picture of 2 cherubim. But then once I pass through that screen, and I'm going and I see the menorah on my left and the showbread on my right, and I see the table of incense before me, and right next to the table of incense, I see a huge curtain. And within that curtain, it's not embroidered on. No. The cherubim now are a part of the curtain. They're internally woven within the curtain 2 cherubim. And as I part the curtain and I come into the most holy place, where I long to meet with God face to face, now I see 2 actual golden cherubim on top of, surrounding God. Now here's where my question comes in. This is the tough one. O Solomon, the wisest of the wise, the most wise king of all, the king that actually had the insight to say, when God said, whatever you ask of me, I'll give it to you, and not riches, not wives, not cattle, not sons, not daughters, not anything physical. Solomon says, the only thing I ask, God, is your wisdom. That's the only thing I want. And God gives him the wisdom. And from Solomon's wisdom, he designs the temple, and he builds the temple, and he creates this temple, the permanent dwelling place of the presence, the Shekinah of God. And within this temple, as I approach, I see a bunch of oxen that are carrying the basin. I don't see this in the Mishkan. As I go through in stage by stage by stage, and I finally get into the most holy place in Solomon's temple, as opposed to the Mishkan, what do I see? I've parted the curtain. I'm on the inside. I see the ark. It has the 2 cherubim, but I look up and there's 2 more cherubim covering it. I don't see this in Moses' instructions. Solomon, you must be cast into hell. You're going to smoke a turd in the Baptist hell, in the Messianic hell, in the Christian hell, whatever, because you've added to the Torah. Solomon, how can you do this? This is my point. Moses, you will build it as you saw it. He built it as he saw it. Solomon saw the wisdom behind the building. And again, going to my point is, we do not understand from a Christian, from a Messianic, or from a Jewish perspective, we do not understand the pure spiritual that wisdom given to Solomon could understand and view into. We do not understand the instructions of this Mishkan based on what Moshe saw while he was living, both physical and spiritual, on Sinai. And the reason being, and this is most critical, I can't stress this hard enough, the Mishkan is a mobile Sinai. Sinai is the gateway to our understanding of the Garden of Eden. All of Torah, and this is the heart of it, all of Torah is to bring us back into the garden, into the place into the circumstance, into the situation that Adam was when he was created, to fulfill Adam's purpose. Our striving is to get back to the garden, not to be saved.
So
Not to be saved. I have to stress this. If you're chasing salvation, you've missed the point. Salvation is the means to get back to the garden. And that's not even correct. The garden is salvation. The garden itself is salvation. The garden is the restoration. If I've made it back to the garden, I have been restored.
Okay, so if I may, can I put it this way? That the whole function of Torah is to bring us back into right standing with the Creator so that we may enter the garden.
I yes and no. Yes and no. I've got to say that Moshe said, "Be still, shut up, stand still, and see the salvation of God." God has already saved us.
Yes.
And so the Torah is how God thinks, and our understanding and our approach to Torah is this is how God lives, so this is how we live. We have a question in the chat room: are we not the Most High's children? Absolutely. I have 5 sons. This son lives this way. 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 They're all my children. At any point in time, one son is disobeying. One son is disrespecting. One son is going in his own direction. One son is following in the path of his father. At any given point in time, all sons are mine. They are all my children. So from God's point of view, and I don't pretend to have the mind of God here, all of creation belongs to God. And I can see this in Torah in 3 different places. I see this in Tanakh in 5 different places. The New Testament gives us a different approach, which I'm very inquisitive on, because Jesus says that the ruler of this world is coming, or the ruler of this world is this, or the king of this world. Jesus, Paul, and even in Revelation, it gives us the idea that Satan is the ruler of this world. But all of Tanakh tells me that God is the ruler of this world. I am a child of God. Whether I'm born of Abraham or born of someone else, it doesn't matter. Salvation is for the entire world. The Jews were chosen to represent God and God's salvation. That doesn't mean I have to be a Jew to be saved. It doesn't mean I have to believe in Paul to be saved. God is still the ruler of everything. You've got to question. Anybody that's approaching Torah and the New Testament, you have to question, why does the Torah not focus on salvation? Why is there no focus on salvation or how to get saved in all of Torah and Tanakh? But yet there's warnings. And from a Christian perspective, from a Roman perspective, God is an evil thing that demands several things. And so thank God that his rules, that he changed his mind on his rules. And he gave us a way through Jesus that we can be saved. Oh, thank God. And I'm being a little bit.
You're being facetious
And sacrilegious at the same time. Oh, thank God he gave us Jesus himself, that he provided a way for us because we failed every other way that he had for us. Okay, the logical mind has to say, wait a minute. Hold on, stop. God is perfect, right? God is the source of all things, right?
Yes.
God is life, right? He couldn't figure this out before now? He didn't know we were going to be so stupid, so fickle, so obstinate, so boneheaded?
Are you trying to say that God didn't measure twice and he just took it out once, cut the board, and said, darn, I screwed up. Let me start again.
Exactly. And so we go back to our Torah portion. Was the Mishkan before the sin of the golden calf, or was it after the sin of the golden calf? The reason for this question is the sin of the golden calf was the preeminent sin. This was the essence of the sin of Adam after salvation. In other words, Adam, you sinned, but I've provided a way. I've redeemed you. And now you sinned again in the same manner of which you sinned before? That's the sin of the golden calf. That is the Jewish mindset. That's Torah's mindset. The sin of the golden calf is equivalent to the sin of Adam. We did it again. Oh, this is the Homer Simpson. Though I did it
Yep.
again. I just want my donuts and whatever. We did it again, really? And so God provided another way. He said, okay, I can't figure out how to deal with you humans, so I'm going to find another way. And now we're going to have the Mishkan. Oops. You couldn't deal with that one either, so now I'm going to go ahead and give you Jesus, and he's going to be the once and for all salvation aspect of this whole thing. Are you really telling me that God is that limited?
And therein lies the conundrum.
If
What
he
do we
says-
see? Go ahead, Jesse.
What do you see?
What do I see? I see God as the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. So therefore,
but if he was the same yesterday, that means he was the same in the Garden of Eden. And
Right.
his aspect, his love, his mercy, and his grace have always been, and he's trying to restore us to
right,
the
because he saw that we had free will. Or actually, he ensured that we had free will. And he saw we were going to make missteps. So he's constantly, he doesn't want automatons. He doesn't want robots. He wants us to want him from our own heart. That's the problem. Man's heart can be pure, but generally it's wicked. And we have to strive, we have to stand up, we have to not earn, but we have to earnestly seek God in order to be restored to him. And God knows this. And he gives us a way every time. His mercy, as it says, endures forever. It's not limited. It's not, oh, sorry, that was the deal on the first day of the week. You missed the sale. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's the point is if God is infinite, that means he exists at all time.
Yep.
Time is inside God. Time does not control God. And that's sometimes what we miss so much when we read the Torah, the Tanakh, and the New Testament. God always was, always is, and always will be. Time exists for humans. It does not exist for God.
Right.
So when God speaks, when God says anything, it always was, always is, and always will be. So God says, let there be light, or let the sun be, and the moon be, and things like this. They always have been, they always will be, and they are now, and they always will be. So when God is instructing Moses to build a Mishkan so that he can dwell within us, what's the purpose of the Mishkan? Well, it's for us because of our limitations. It does not limit, nor does it affect God in the slightest. What I'm getting to with all of this is the Mishkan is where Moses met with God face to
It says face to face, but that's
as much as Moses could understand and accept God in a spiritual realm as a physical being, This is the physical aspect of the approach to God. Oh, so this is an approach to God. Why this manner? And this is what the true student asks. Why this manner? Well, after all, didn't God command Moses? Nobody's to approach the mountain. Nobody's to come near the mountain. Oh, except for these individuals, they can come up this far, but no further. And then these individuals can go up a little bit further, but no farther. And then only Moses can come up into this area of Sinai. Oh, so I see that within the Mishkan, within the tabernacle. Everybody can come up this far, but no further. And then only these people can come up this far, but no further. And then only this person can come into this far, but no further. And then only once a year, in representation of Moses, in representation of of Abraham, and in representation of Adam, of where Adam dwelt with me in the garden, 100% physical created human and 100% godly breathed spirit. This is the marriage. This is the wedding, when physical and spiritual meet in pureness and in harmony. Anything less than that pureness and that harmony requires mercy and requires grace to even approach. Otherwise, absolute strict justice demands death.
Right.
Now we can say salvation, we can say sacrifice, we can view it whatever we want to. But the approach remains the same and has always been the same. Something must die. That is the animal spirit within all of us. And this is what Yeshua or Jesus is really trying to depict for us. Are you willing to die in order to be unified with God? Are you willing to follow me? Not that I've replaced you, which was what Christianity tells us. Christianity says Jesus did this for me. Jesus, in his own words, says, follow me and do what I did. I paved the way for you to follow, not to rely upon. In other words, I paved the way to show you it's not impossible. There's no disconnect here. Christianity came about and said, oh, he's a god, or he's a demigod, or he's whatever, and so therefore I can live, eat, and hope for tomorrow because of what he already did for me in my place. Jesus' own words are, follow me and do what I did, not let me do the labor for you. Pick up your cross. Sacrifice the animal side of you and enter in the Kodesh Kodeshim, where the cherubim guard the way. They keep the way open for us in the Mishkan and in the garden. But they must slay the animalistic soul that is driven on pride, conceit, and self-worth.
Yeah, greed.
That's the difference in the approach. This is what the Mishkan, this is what the instructions for the Mishkan are based upon. We're out of time, so wrap it up, Frank. Wrap it up, Jesse. I'm out of here.
So much for trying to escape once before.
Jeez.
He keeps getting
I'd have
pulled
known
back
that.
in and pulled back in.
Yeah, if I'd have known that, I would have run. Gee. So, Jesse, any other questions in the room real quick?
At this juncture in time, I do not see any questions other than statements. The statements were actually pretty good.
Jesse Losgren said something that I've said so many times, and I love what Losgren has said here is God is unlimited. He is in everything and he is everywhere. And so, I don't like the EPA and the tree huggers, but at the same time, I am a tree hugger because God is in everything. He is in the animals, he is in the plants, he is in the earth, he is in everything.
Yeah,
And if I'm not respecting everything else, it's because I have not respected me. And the reason I don't respect me is because I do not accept that I am the temple of the living God. I am above these things. I am separate from these things. And as long as I continue to diminish myself in self-worth, in self-judgment, in self-accusation, or in doubting others because of how others view me, then I reject the coverings of the Mishkan. I reject the skins that he gave Adam and he gave on the Mishkan. I'm rejecting these things until I can accept these things and recognize I am striving for the harmony of me and God. How do I do this? Teruma!
Yep.
Teruma, our Torah portion. Tzedakah. What is tzedakah? Tzedakah is not giving gifts. Tzedakah is not just is not simply just giving to the orphans and the widows and the those that are homeless or anything else. Tzedakah truly, and this goes into the etymology of the word again. Tzedakah is doing God. Tzedakah is giving without expectation of anything. Tzedakah is portraying life in everything. So, from a Jewish perspective, I give of my resources. I give of my actions. I give of my mind. I give of everything about me. Why? Because the Torah says you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart. That means all of your intentions. With all of your mind, with everything you think. And with all of the strength or the ability to gain wealth. I give of this. So tzedakah comes from being righteous or being one with God, being right standing with God, doing what God would do. Tzedakah in a Jewish world, in the synagogue, the tzedakah is where I give money. Tzedakah is where the beggar on the street, I don't question what his motives are. I give because I'm marrying myself with God. And so we have teruma. Teruma, you will raise up every physical aspect of your being to marry with the spiritual aspect of God. And we have it spelled out. You're going to give of gold. You're going to give of silver, of copper, of purple, of wood, of all these things. These are all material things. Well, wait a minute. How's that spiritual? Oh. Because I'm feeding the poor. I'm sheltering the homeless. I'm being a big brother. I'm being a father. I'm being a mother. I'm being a brother. I am being God in this world. And therefore now, boom, you are a light unto the nations. I'm sorry, I dropped the mic right there.
I thought it was going to say, bam, kick it up a notch.
So that's why you suddenly went boom. You were dropping the mic. Got it.
Okay. Okay. So any last thoughts, Jesse?
Last thoughts? Well, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You see a signpost up ahead. I think it says Torah on it. I'm not sure. This is a very bad version of the Twilight Zone that I'm trying to portray here.
Yeah. Well, the light at the end of the tunnel for me is probably a train. But hey, you know.
But no. Papa kind of nailed any kind of point that I wanted to cover tonight. he kind of shot him left and right. It's like, oh wait a minute, what about this? Oh wait, what about the? which is good. It's good whenever someone who's more eloquent than myself can get a point out.
Don't kid yourself. You do a good job.
Well, you see the difference in rantings between him and me. So, but yeah, this portion has so many meanings, so many directions it could have taken, and we only took one of an infinite number.
True. Very true. Yeah. I don't know.
Next time we will actually try to hit on a different point instead of the same point as last time.
Yeah. Well, if I'm not mistaken, the next portion is Tetzaveh, right? So, at least I think it's Tetzaveh, which is huh?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the next portion is Tetzaveh. So,
let's see.
And if it is Tetzaveh, then it's
Tetzaveh.
personal. Yeah, it's personal to Chris and myself. It's our birth portion. So,
and on a side note, we will be having Mark's show tomorrow morning, I believe.
Yeah, tomorrow morning. After the prayers and such in the morning, Mark comes on and he has his own show, which is great. It's fun because it goes through the news, both in America and in Israel. We have a special guest that comes on every Shabbat first day from Israel, and he gives his perspective of the news from Israel, and we go through so many different things. It's a fun show. It's called Just Visiting, or gosh, I've already forgotten the name of it. It's Visiting This Planet, Just Visiting This Planet. It's a great show. 8:30 in the morning on first day on Sunday, and it goes from like 8:30 to, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock. He goes on forever, but it's fun because he intermixes so many different things. Please join us tomorrow for Just Visiting This Planet with Mark Smith. Enjoyed it. It was great, and my wife just reminded me that I was mispronouncing Zadaka. No, she's right, and that's what I love, because Pam and Jesse are constantly trying to correct me on my Hebrew, because my Hebrew is so slack. Too many years of Christian approach to Hebrew as opposed to a Hebraic approach to Hebrew.
Here in Oklahoma, we call it Shekinah.
The emphasis is on the Dalet, so it's Zadaka, not Zadaka. It's Zadaka. Why is this important?
Well,
proper pronunciation.
I want to be. It's because my wife and my sons all know that I have to be correct in everything I say and everything I do. And so when I mispronounce something and they correct me, I really do appreciate it. I appreciate being corrected.
Okay.
And
so
it's a DACA.
Yeah. Okay. So
with to expound on to actually give more seriousness to what he was saying, the understanding behind Hebrew is you can mispronounce one thing and mess up badly. So the emphasis is put in that place because it's one of the few words that is actually focused like that. I mean, I could give a brief modern word as an example, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
And we don't have very much time.
Mispronouncing
we have run out of time.
Well, the way it is pronouncing an accent more to the beginning than the end of a word depending on the word, can wind up to where you just cuss someone.
True.
It's yeah, where the emphasis is given. So it's Zadaka, not Zadaka. And I'm out of here. So
Well,
Shavua Tov.
yeah, my
and
last
great week.
right. My last thoughts are, it's you need to study all the aspects. Torah is Torah. Can't violate that, but you need to study all of the aspects, which means you need to look at the extra biblical. You need to look at the Talmud. You need to look at the sages, what they say. We're not that much different from them. We have questions. They looked at and researched and went deeper. That's what we need to do. We have questions, but we need to research and look deeper to find the understanding. So we can go back and read what they say and then read what another rabbi says and so on and so forth and see why they argue back and forth about what means this and what means that, all in order to get a deeper understanding of Torah and Tanakh. And yes, even I say the Brit Hadashah, but it's the New Testament. So that's what we're doing. That's what we should be doing. So, but those are my closing thoughts. This is 2.5 Opinions. I'm Frank. Chris is
I'm Yishai, and the other one who was
Not the
here
Rebbe.
just a few seconds ago is not the Rebbe.
So anyway, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. I know we're a bunch of crazy nuts, but hey, that's the only way to get around in life these days. Besides, nobody's offered me a straitjacket yet. I don't think I'd look good in one, so.
Who knows?
Oh, thanks a lot. Okay, so anyway, Shavua Tov, Laila Tov, the Heathrow, and we'll see you next week, I hope. Or you can tune in tomorrow for Mark's show, just visiting this planet. So anyway, take care. Shalom. Okay, I guess we're going to close the room, so. Okay. Remember, the short, disclaimer here is, if your speakers break or your computer breaks because I sing, I am in no way liable for any damages caused by that or any cameras that take my picture. Okay, so. Let me see if I can remember the song. Let me see. Do I remember the words? Okay. Mizmor shir leyom hashabos. Mizmor shir leyom hashabos. Mizmor shir leyom hashabos. Mizmor shir leyom hashabos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. And I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The flowers and the trees sing the song of Shabbos. The valleys and the mountains sing the song of Shabbos. The stars in the skies sing the song of Shabbos. The angels in heaven sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. And I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. I saw 6 million dying They sang the song of Shabbos. I hear 3 million crying to sing the song of Shabbos. Stop all the hatred, sing the song of Shabbos. Love one another, sing the song of Shabbos. Dance on the street, sing the song of Shabbos. Dance on the street, sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. The whole world is waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. And I am also waiting to sing the song of Shabbos. Mizmor Shir, Shir Leyom HaShabbos. There. Are you happy now, Charlotte? Do it again, do it again. Come on, will you?
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
Do not touch that dial. Do not click off that page. We are Lamb Radio.
So, with that, I want to introduce all of my wonderful co-hosts that are with me today. First off, Eddie and Tammy from the great state of Florida. How are you this morning? Let's bring y'all into the stream. Good morning.
We're warm. Well, no, it's
I don't know. It's kind of chilly out
about
today.
in the 50s. Yeah, we're freezing. What am I saying?
Yes, it's almost 50 here. Almost 50.
Wow,
But,
hallelujah.
I don't think we got out of the 50s yesterday.
Yeah, the
It was
mosquitoes are
pretty
flying
chilly.
slow. You can slap them.
Oh, there
They
you
slow
go.
down. You know?
Yeah. I'm hoping that we won't maybe see any mosquitoes this year. I'm hoping because we got such a hard freeze. I don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens with that. It's like freeze them all out.
The state bird of Alaska is the mosquito, so I don't think the freeze is going to have a chance to,
That's no joke,
to
man.
stop the population. No.
That's no joke.
Right. That's so true. Also joining us.
Some of the worst mosquito populations I have ever seen was in Alaska.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll have to tell. That reminds me that when I was a kid, we went and visited Scotland. As we drove our little Morris Marina station wagon around Europe, and then we pulled a little 14-foot travel trailer behind us, which they call a caravan. They call that a caravan in Europe. And we made our way through Europe. We went across from Calais in France to England and then up into Scotland. And we were walking around some of these ancient ruins of Scotland, and I learned what flies were. And gnats, the gnats and the flies. I mean, I'm telling you, they swarmed in Scotland. It is so probably much like Alaska.
Yeah.
So anyway, that just reminded me of something. They were horrible. I was like, get me out of this place. Oh goodness. Hey, we've got everything is not I can't read the rest of it. Everything is not obvious joining us today. Everything is not obvious. Okay. Good morning. EISEINO. Maybe I'll just call that ANO. That sound good.
Be careful how you pronounce that. my
No.
friend, if you would, and your tag says John and Sandy, but I know that's not all your name.
Well, that's true. That's true. See, it's an illusion. It's not obvious, is it?
That's right.
Well,
we
it
have a
doesn't
theme
say
going
Ken
here.
and doesn't say Ken and Barbie, does it?
No. Sandy is in the room. I just want you to know that.
I'm here.
She's
Good.
She's-
Bring her in. I've got a problem I need to ask you guys about.
all right.
Yes.
All right. She's working on some issues that got to be taken care
Okay.
of.
Well, let me tell you about my issue, and
But she can hear us.
she can hear. Now, see, I don't have any slow mosquitoes, but I do seem to have a critter in my drainage pipes underneath my kitchen sink.
A critter under
I-
your drainage pipes.
Yeah.
What?
What kind of critter is it?
Well, see, that's my deal. Is I don't know. I don't recognize. You can hear this critter in the pipes, but I've never heard it before. Heard the sound, and it makes a sound. It's not like scratching or anything. Like when we put our food down the drainage and everything, and then all of a sudden I hear this. And it's some critter in my drainage pipes.
Does it smell?
What's that?
Does it smell?
No, I haven't been able to smell, but I have been. I went down underneath and I took the pipes apart and looked at everything, and I couldn't find the critter in there. But I know he's in there because I keep hearing him. He's going, and it's like after we put all our food down the drain, and I just don't get it. I'm wondering if you can help me out here and figure it out.
Bob Hall there in the chat said most likely a rat or a congressman.
The only other thing that seems to bother me is after Adina puts the food down there, she switches the light on so that she can see, if everything's down there, but there's no light. I've looked for it. There's no light up underneath there or anything, but she switches it on, and all of a sudden as she switches the light on, I hear, and then we notice the light didn't come on, and she switches it off, and for some reason it stops eating then.
This is really bad. So a light that doesn't work, but a critter that is roaring.
Yeah,
somewhere.
Exactly. Do you have any idea of the planet, what kind of critter this is?
Wow. It sounds to me that it could be shocking when you find it.
What shocking when I find it. Well, I don't know. Seriously, can you tell me what it is? Have you ever had this problem or a critter like this?
It seems to be connected to the switch.
The switch, right?
That's
like obvious.
Yeah.
So everything is not obvious, apparently, to me. So
did you try?
If you can tell me what it is.
Did you try to stick your hand down in the sink
when
the switch was on?
I did, and it was like right up there where all the food was, and I had to pull my hand out real quick.
So it was biting you, huh?
It was like it was trying to bite me. Yeah.
Sounds like a Cookie Monster.
Yeah, it did. It's kind of like it. Only it's just regular old, vegetables and stuff.
Yeah.
So tell me what it is. I don't know what it is.
Well, Mark, I just so you
I
know,
I know what it is.
What,
It's,
Tim?
it's an ano in the Drano.
I don't know what that is. All right.
that's good. That's good deal right there. Well, it sounds like it has to. It's a garbage chewing critter.
Sounds like something that you need to keep around, because it helps keep your drains.
Well, that's right. That's true. That's true. All right. But is there a word for this thing that's in there? I mean, does everybody have one of these critters?
It's Oscar. Sandy said it's Oscar.
It's
Oscar the Grouch.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. We've got one, but he doesn't make that much noise.
It doesn't sound like.
No, it just goes. Okay, just so you know.
What about Eddie and Tammy? Do they have one?
Eddie and Tammy, do y'all have one of those?
Actually, ours is out in the woods. It's called a possum.
That's right. That's right.
Oh.
Don't forget the armadillo
Yeah, and the armadillo
and the raccoon.
and the raccoon.
Watch out
Well, I
for
don't want to
the
take up any more time. Seriously, I know you got all your stuff and everything.
Well,
but
it seems to me, Mark, it's your garbage disposal. It's not a critter.
garbage disposal. Now, is
Yeah.
that the name of some kind of critter or something that I've
It's
never
a
heard of?
man-made-
Here in North Carolina, do they have a lot of these garbage disposals? I don't know.
It's a man-made critter.
Oh, man-made critter.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of those running around these
Yeah.
days.
So it's robotic.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So just honestly, don't put your hand in your sink when it's on. It's not.
Okay. All right.
It's-
So that's what the switch
They
is.
do bite.
Yes, the switch is related to the growl.
Okay. All right. Well, let me just tell you, everything is not obvious.
Way to go. I know.
What would you do without us, Mark?
I don't know.
We'll help turn the light on for you.
Give me some thoughts to think of during the week.
You want some thoughts today? How about some headlines first? Because the thoughts are going to just might chew that brain up a little bit. So
The headlines will provoke thoughts.
that's right. Because not everything's obvious, but we'll get there. We'll
I'm
help you out.
I'm done with chewing today.
All right, so these are headlines. These are ones that are from around the world, and you're not going to hear anywhere else. But so just kind of keep this theme in mind. When things can go terribly wrong. When things can go terribly wrong. So here's our first one for the day. Drum roll. Fargo man arrested for clearing snow with a flamethrower.
Wow. I don't get why did they arrest him, man. I don't understand that. It's Fargo.
It's
That's
Fargo.
why.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
go to a gas station?
Gas pipeline.
Have you ever seen the show Fargo?
No.
There is a show called Fargo.
Yes.
And that sounds exactly like it. Fargo is in North Dakota,
Right.
is where it is. And they have had some pretty weird things happen in Fargo. And that sounds like one of those things that would happen in Fargo.
Yeah. So here's how it starts out. Fox stated that he was simply fed up with battling the elements and that he did not possess the willpower necessary to move 4 billion tons of white bee bleep. There you go. That's how it starts out in the article. So he used a flamethrower. How about this one? This one, maybe this happened down in Bay County. where we had the stuff running in the streets, but this is a headline. This is actually off of a news headline, and it says, "Man in." I'm just going to say it in a couple different ways. First off, I'm going to say it straight out. Man in boxers leads police on brief chase.
That's good.
Man in boxers leads police on brief chase.
I get it. Okay, well, at least it wasn't a man in briefs doing something with a boxer case.
Or don't wear your brief in the backyard that has a boxer.
That's right. There you go.
Or stay away from the box cutters. Oh my goodness. All right. So, that was rather interesting, but, headlines that, things can go terribly wrong with. Well, here's the next one. A rally. How about this? Rally against apathy draws small crowd.
I'm sorry. I call fake news on that one.
Actually, this was an article from Oklahoma City in the AP.
Oh, well, then I rest my case.
Yes. No one cares.
Yeah, they really don't.
How about this one where we have to remember when things can go terribly wrong? Well, miracle cure kills fifth patient.
All right. What was it supposed to cure? Life?
Wow.
Now, wait, did it have parenthetically COVID vaccine written after miracle cure?
Watch out.
Parenthetically COVID vaccine killed. Sorry.
Whatever you want to use, just fill in the blank.
Yeah. Oh man, I hope I didn't overstep my uncensored boundaries there when saying that.
Right.
Okay. No, sorry. Sometimes,
Jab, COVID jab. We can use the word jab.
Just jab, not even.
Jab on.
Don't even preface it.
Yeah.
I know. No, never mind.
It's
Well,
hard to-
all I can tell you on that one is that was also by the Associated Press. So, but there's no date on the headline, so I can't tell you when.
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
How about this one? When things can go terribly wrong, a man coming through window says he was warning neighbor about prowler.
Hey, may I just respond to that as everything is not obvious?
There you go.
All right. So last but not least, that I cannot resist, and it comes from the Sturgis Journal. So Sturgis, back up there in the North Dakota, South Dakota area. So this is South Dakota. Oh my goodness. When things can go terribly wrong, missing team found in colon. Missing team found in colon.
Supposed to be a name of a town, or is someone's?
All it says: missing teen found in colon. You got lost.
Hear no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil.
You got lost up there somewhere.
That's right. Yes.
He's out looking for the man in boxer shorts.
That's right. And crawling through people's windows to warn them about.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I have tears to my own eyes for my own stuff. I don't. All right. Okay. Let's unwarp our minds here for a second and some weird and quirky shower thoughts for today. Deep thoughts that make you say, "Hmm."
I'm clearing my mind.
Right. Okay. I have to ask this question first before I read this shower thought. And I ask the question, is this from an emo? Do y'all know what an emo is?
Everything is not obvious.
In my opinion.
There you go.
This is an emo is it's short for someone that's, I always kind of look at it as an emotional You know, like those teens that are like emos, they wear black and all that sort of stuff, and kind of like they're really melancholic. Okay.
Electronic mind observer.
There, yeah, could be it. But here we go. The fact that Head and Shoulders doesn't have a body wash called Knees and Toes disappoints me almost as much as I disappoint my parents.
That's pretty sad.
Wow. Oh.
It has to be from an emo, but it's disappointing. You got to have a body wash called Knees and Toes. Okay, but the other part of it, Knees and Toes. Sandy sing that song, that children's song. Okay, let's move right along. Yeah, Bob Hall says borderline gender confused. That could be it too. I snorted. Okay, so here's another shower thought. Anxiety is like worrying that you forgot your car keys, even though you're driving your car.
You're getting right on the edge of offense here to old people. You know,
yesterday I was looking
careful. Just be careful.
Yesterday I was looking for my marker for the dry erase board marker, and I was looking. It was right. I was like, "Where is that marker?" I'm looking all over the place, and yeah, it was right there the whole time in my left hand.
Have you seen your blue hoodie lately?
Okay.
I've done that looking for my hat. Where is my hat? I had it right there on my head.
Yeah.
Hey, did you notice that my hat and my shirt are color coordinated today?
Hey, that's sweet.
Nice.
It's mine.
So is mine.
So is mine. Oh, wait, this way. No. Which way? I've got to look that way. Yeah.
By the way, John, green and blue don't go together. So just.
Okay. I'll
Why
remember.
did we go together?
There used to be school colors, green and blue.
It's very well known, Tammy. It's obvious.
Well, why did God create blue flowers that have green leaves?
Oh. You need to take that to God right there.
See, I think that may be a social moray that needs to be changed.
What did you call me? A moray? What?
Moving right along.
Go ahead.
Right along. Here's one for you. Reading is just staring. This is for all of us old school people. Old school. All right. Old school. Reading is just staring at a dead piece of wood for hours and hallucinating. So if you read your books on your screen, I have no other thoughts about that one. It doesn't work, but
it's silicone. So you're looking at sand.
Sand. There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's good. How about this next one? Oh, okay. Y'all need to brace yourself for this one. Sandy, maybe you can help me out with this one. She's looking at me. I want you to help me out right here.
What
Okay.
is she like ironing clothes or something? You know, I picture her standing behind the computer, standing there ironing clothes because it's more exciting than what's going on the show. That's what I'm picturing here. It's kind of like her eyes are rolling and she's ironing. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's all right. She's having to deal with church business stuff this morning, so she's working as quickly as she can. So maybe she can join us here quickly. All right. So here's this next thing. All right. Are Medusa's leg hairs tiny snakes?
Now, see, that was the first good one right there.
Only in the shower.
That was the first good one right there. That's
all right.
One last pictures.
I have one I'd like to share after you get done.
Yeah, she got one.
Okay.
Hey, we go all through the week trying to think of shower thoughts. That was a good shower thought.
Okay. I want to hear yours, Tammy, before I do my last one.
Okay. It's better to be high strung than to be strung high.
That's a good one. I like
Whoa.
that. That's a good one. But
Yeah.
really, my response to that is most high strung people I'd like to string high.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. It makes get a rope a whole different meaning there.
Doesn't it, though? Doesn't
Well,
it?
when you think about Haman, he was pretty high strung.
All right. And one last shower thought before we move right on. And this one here is one that we must ponder. And it says this: we all have about 2 minutes to live, but taking a breath resets the clock.
That was okay, John.
It's okay.
That was okay.
But you probably like the Medusa leg hairs.
That one was the best. You could have saved that one till last. That one was good.
Yeah.
They hardly any of them made me go,
I was aiming for more of the laughter. I needed some good medicine this morning. So
I see. Good.
All right. So
get a garbage disposal.
Yeah, right. Things that you'll not hear anywhere else. But here on Monday Edition, let us reason together.
Amen. Amen.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.